Yeah, I'm
Comic.
your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason, what's on tap today?
Well, it's like we took like a break from it with the best of war podcast, but now we're getting back to talking about Star Wars stuff because hey, well the Star Wars series, a previous Star Wars series has wrapped up. Well, there's also the like this companion series Darth Vader going on as well. And if you're wondering, well, what about like Dr. Aphra and the Bounty Hunters? Like series as well. Well, it's like I kind of gave my thoughts on like Dr. Aphra's like final series in the Dark Droids podcast. I kind of meant to like do a extended like talk about that, but it just got lost in the shuffle with like other stuff that I wanted to talk about. But I will say that it is worth reading and like it's definitely worth checking out. But Bounty Hunters, nah, yeah, you're fine if you want to skip that. I mean, it's like I can appreciate their efforts to try and make Baylor Valance a thing, but what I read of it just never quite clicked with me. So, but then you've got like Greg Pak's Darth Vader series, and this is easily like the longest Vader series at Marvel, having done like two previous series, like 25 issues from Kieron Gillen, 25 issues from Charles Soule, a like a 5 issue series from Dennis Hopeless, and it's like another like Target Vader series that I remember like being a thing that I can't remember anything else about. But there you go. But Marvel has always tried to make Darth Vader like integral to their plans, like in terms of like expanding like the Star Wars like comics line with the publisher. So, but what's interesting here is that they decided to keep like Vader going like as long as he did, because now you've got 50 full issues of Vader, like of Vader's adventures in the time frame between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And if you, and the short version of this is, if you think that does the fact that the series ran twice as long as any other Vader series at Marvel mean it's twice as good? No, no, it does not. In fact, this is easily the most uneven Darth Vader series, like from the publisher, because like there are times when you're wondering just what is like Pac trying to do here, like why is he just like constantly like citing to other scenes from the prequel trilogy and also the core trilogy as well, like and it's like and just also just like doing like just questionable series decisions about just like having Vader decide to wallow in his grief. It's like about just like what but why Luke became so weak and didn't want to join him. It's like at the like in Empire, like in the first volume, and that first volume was kind of just like this thing going like what is the writer doing here? It's like you've got just like Vader just like going on about you know it's like but about his like his feet about his feelings and just why like Luke didn't join him, and it's like we wanted to track down just saying what why his son became so weak, and this eventually like leads him to a secret cadre of people from Naboo, followers like from Padme Amidala's reign, who were apparently like like felt that he had some kind of hand in like in Amidala's death, and this was like exemplified by her chief handmaiden Sabe, who confronts him at the end of the very first issue, which initially had people wondering, "Oh, wait a second, like, are we bringing back Padme here?" But no, like rational minds thought that hey, this had to be one of her handmaidens who acted as her shadow or replacement in the in Phantom Menace. So that's kind of like where things go, and you know, but in the first volume, like I said, wasn't a great start to this series, but volume two actually like stepped things up considerably um because the Emperor was like very disgusted with Vader's actions like there, and he basically just like like tore him apart and just like left him for dead on Mustafar, saying, "Hey, um if you want to actually like, start acting like a proper Sith, then come at me, but just don't use the Force to do it, or else I'll know." And so what we get in that second volume is like a proper, well, what feels like more like a story that plays to Vader's strength. Is like now he's sure he's been left for dead, but he's got his raw mechanical skills. It's like and combat know-how. So he's able to repair himself and also fend off the advances of one Ochi of Bastoon. Ochi of Bastoon is one of the Emperor's assassins who is kind of like a devil may care type character. It's like really supremely confident, kind of a smartass, and but also very craven in terms of where his loyalty lies. He's determined to just stay on the side of whoever's going to get him the most power, whether that means like the Emperor, whether that means Vader, or whether that means the criminal organization known as Crimson Dawn. Well, it kind of depends on which way the wind is blowing in any given volume. But really, it's like Ochi of Bastoon is like he's kind of one of the highlights of this run, and just like it's that Pac just channels a lot of good darkly comic humor, and I know I've used that term a lot in my reviews, but yeah, it's just fun to see Ochi suffer because of his cravenness, because he's just determined to try to find up on the winning side, but he's just also determined to suffer because of he's letting other people determine where his loyalty lies rather than any actual principles that he himself holds. It's great fun, and but that second volume does a good job getting Vader back into prop like a proper badass strength version, but also just eventually showing him what he's that he's always going to be secondary to the Emperor, but at the same time well like there's always that hope that he's going to find some way to triumph over his master, and that's I don't know, that's where I think the length of the series actually turns out to be more of a strength than a weakness. I mean, yeah, it's I can imagine that there's probably a all killer no filler 25 issue version of this series somewhere, but what we but I'm seeing but I'm reading this. It's interesting to see how Vader's struggles eventually coalesce into a nice bit of continuity between Empire and Jedi, because we've got after the second volume we've got him trying to trying to get Luke back into the fold by getting involved in the bounty hunter wars, and then eventually trying to root out the corruption by evidenced by Crimson Dawn. It's in the fourth volume, and then eventually trying to convince Sabe say that she needs to embrace hate, because hate in the way the Sith preach it, it's leads to power, rather than everyone who's a part of the light side who says that hate leads to suffering. So, and that's one of the things that I was interested in rereading the series for, is that eventually it's kind of shown that Sabe may be more amenable to using the power that Vader affords her in order to like establish some level of control over it's over the Empire. And bring some sort of some level of justice to its inhabitants. And Vader is kind of willing to entertain her here, because she wears the face of the great love of his life as well. I don't quite think that this is something that Greg Pak really planned specifically, because it does, rereading it does feel kind of like a clever retcon, in terms of hey, I think I can go here with this kind of setup, but nevertheless it's still kind of interesting to consider. But then you've also got just the story is still only geared towards Vader's constant struggles for power against against his master, whether it's just getting the raw power from the not World Devastator, the device that just drains power from the from the planet that it's in, that it's set on. That was originally, it's hey, it was originally meant to be really like like mean thing done by Governor Tantaza, but then it was revealed that oh, she was just acting under the Empire's orders, like the Emperor's orders. I mean, so it's kind of like everywhere Vader turns, like the Emperor is constantly testing him, constantly just saying like, hey, do you have what it takes? And also, not just does he have what it takes, but also like, are you going to be like subservient to me? Because that's basically what I want from you at all times. I want a proper tool, someone who is just going to like like be like have who knows how to seek great power, but is only going to use it for my will. And that's like really how the series keeps going. From the and from the point where like Vader loses control of the Force and is like has to like seek devices in order to get it back under his control, which leads him to his former um like servant Chili Afra, like in a later volume, um on Unbound Force, it's like volume 7, where it's like she's just like trying to do her thing, just like swindling some people for their cash. But it turns out one of the people is Ochi of Bastoon, and it's fun to see like how after like Vader like comes after her, and she realizes that okay, wait, you didn't kill me outright, so that means you want something from me. So she understands Vader like incredibly well, to the point she knows exactly how to deal with him. And it's funny to see Ochi suffer at like as a result of this, because she realizes that hey, it's like it's like you got to make sure his attention is focused elsewhere. And like Ochi is just like determined, like hey, it's like as long as I'm just gonna like be next to like the person who's like the baddest motherfucker in the room. And she's like, okay, fine, do that. Let's see how it works out for you. And and this is like one of the few bits where it's like it kind of compares well to Kieran Gillen's like run, because in that volume it also includes like the first appearance of Dr. Afra. And while it's certainly memorable, like holding that up to the comparison for Pac's run seems like a like it's not going to do it any favors, but it actually does, because the two issues where she does show up and a couple of familiar droids do as well. Actually, like it's like actually like like compare favorably here. So like there is strong writing. I mean like over the course of the series, it's just not. It's just like kind of inconsistent for a lot of it. I mean, especially in the early going. It's only I think it's like once the series gets into its back half, and we get a clearer idea of like how this is all supposed to like tie into like it's like Vader's overall journey, that the series like really kind of hits its stride, especially when we get into the last couple of volumes, where we're introduced to the Schism Imperial, a organization set up by one Sub Administrator Moore, Administrator Moore, like a Umbaran, who is like force sensitive, but not actually like a Jedi or a Sith. There's someone who actually has powers, but not force powers, not the actual training. She or actually, I think it's proper to say that they are. It's like it's like they are like like aware of like Vader's like potential like for power, and like how Vader can be used to further their own cause. But um Administrator Moore, like later Sub Administrator Moore, like winds up on the bad end of like the Emperor and Vader's attention over the course of the series, even though they are eventually promoted back to Administrator in in volume 9, I believe. And also at the point when they are like fronting the Schism Imperial, which basically is basically a form of rebellion within the Empire that basically realizes that hey, like Emperor Palpatine's like rule is just like more geared more towards chaos than anything else. What if we actually like like try to like use the Empire's power for order, and like all and like winds up securing a bunch of like characters who have been wronged by Vader over the course of the series, in order to just like head up this like this new rebellion, and then eventually Vader himself, because he wants to like defeat the Emperor, and the Emperor is just someone who's just been bringing chaos this whole time. Like the penultimate volume of the series does do a good job of setting up this like this idea while also promoting the idea this like Vader's now finally going to make his play to like bring Luke into his in, like into his fold as well. So this is like a so yeah we left it off on volume 9 on a really good like setup for the final volume. I mean, obviously, like we're not going to see Vader bring Luke into the fold because that's not how the movies worked. But well, what about this like how is this like Imperial rebellion going like going to work out? And also, how about these new rebels like the Amar Force who Vader has subjugated through their like implants? It's like they are basically it's like they're not willing recruits into the Empire because like they've been controlled by the implants he's going to sneak into them. But how's he gonna deal with that as well? And also just how is Sabe going to deal with like Vader and like his is she going to respond to his like decree for like are you going to recognize that power lead that suffering that hate leads to power rather than suffering. Well, the final volume does is kind of falls in like the way you'd expect really because ultimately the it's like Kieran Gillen's run had a clear role like from the start about like setting up a how because Vader had basically failed to like defend the Death Star, and you kind of wonder like, well, how is he going to get back into the Emperor's good graces like as a result of this? Um, Even with Vader like wanting to go after like the people who made Luke weak in the like after Empire, there's still not like a direct like correlation. It's like how does he get from Empire to Jedi? Like I mean, what is the obvious setup there? Well, it's basically lies in that scene where Luke um surrenders himself to the Imperial forces on Endor, and he has this conversation with Vader in order to try and get him to like recognize that there's still good in him, that there's still hope. And Vader basically tells him, "No, it is too late for me, my son." And this Vader series is all about how Vader gets to that point, that level of defeatedness, and that seems counterintuitive for a Vader series because you got to see how he makes it look strong. How does it make him look strong, even though he's like struggling? But at the end, though, at the end of the day, though, when you look at that, how do you get to that moment of defeatism in it's like in Return of the Jedi? Well, looking at how Pack orchestrates things, I think that he actually does a pretty good job of just setting up Vader's constant struggles against the Emperor, constant failures, um, and it actually kind of works out pretty well. I mean, when you get to the final bits of the final issue, and Vader is basically saying like, "No, Anakin Skywalker is dead." It actually like has a certain resonance there. It's like, in fact, the final issue does do a good job of like just hammering home just how just just how Vader's efforts like are. It's like even like have basically been futile, but do align with the characters status in the it's like in Jedi. And yeah, it's like that's kind of what I would hope for from a series like that's set between these two movies. Just showcase good connective tissue in terms of like how the character gets from point A to point B here. And I think that overall it's like maybe I mean yeah, the series has basically been deeply uneven, and I think that main artist Raphael Enco does do some generally solid work over the course of the series, even though I think that there's a level of stiffness that he never quite overcomes. It's like it's still pretty solid, and also I don't know, it's like I guess that uh, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say like what is the better series between the two that I've read, like Star Wars proper or Darth Vader. But I don't know. It's like I guess I kind of got to give it to Darth Vader in the end because even if it was a lot more uneven and led me like feeling that there were a lot more bits early on when I felt like why am I still reading this? But in the end, especially in its back half, it does do a good job of like leading of like showcasing the character's arc that that ties into the overall continuity in a way that doesn't feel mechanical or outright forced. Pak does do a good job of charting a generally ruthless character's like growth or lack thereof. It's like over the course of this run, and even though it's like I think that it is very uneven. It's like there's no doubt that that it did finish strongly, and I'm not about to say that hey, you don't need to ignore its final volume like I did with Soul's run on Star Wars. So overall, it's like it's like like it's 50 issues and it's 10 volumes because apparently Marvel felt that hey maybe we need to sell this better by splitting up into like shorter volumes. But overall, it's like I did enjoy this, and it's probably worth reading either on Marvel Unlimited or on whatever omnibus releases that the series is certain to get at at some point. So yeah, not bad, and overall it's like it's like I said I think it eventually overcomes its initial unevenness to be pretty strong like overall. Assuming you're looking to read a story about Darth Vader. Darth Vader's like triumphs and ultimate failures in order to overcome his master and his resignation about his place in this like in the Sith Order at the end of the day. Um, so there you go. That's where we are with Star Wars at Marvel, and I also have some news to report because it turns out that Marvel does have plans for Star Wars going forward because after the Battle of Jakku trilogy of series, which is getting a one volume edition, thankfully, we're it's like they are going to do a new ongoing Star Wars series exploring the post Return of the Jedi era from Battle of the Jakku writer Alex Segura and Star Wars artist Phil Noto, who's also contributed work to the Chewbacca series and the first half of the Poe Dameron series as well. So, well, so it's interesting to see where the franchise is going at Marvel from there. But at the same time, though, it's only one title because while we got like multiple titles during the Star Wars to Empire era and four dedicated titles during the Empire to a Jedi era. Now we're just getting that this one title, which hey, this is fine because they're also going to be exploring other eras as well. But I don't know, it's interesting to see just like how it's like how the series is progressing because I mean nothing against Alex Segura, but I wouldn't say that he's someone who is like I would say classified as an A-list writer, someone whose name demands that I read like their work based on what they've done before. I'm mainly gonna be reading this because I'm invested in Star Wars more than anything else. But hey, I'm perfectly willing to see where things go, and if nothing else, he's got like a wide open like canvas to explore. So I am really interested to see like where they're going to go from this. I'm just curious to see whether it's going to be someplace interesting, like if that at least. So, but that's the future.
Maybe maybe they'll cover the Mandalorian. Yes.
Oh, they've already been doing adaptations of the Mandalorian seasons.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So
Yeah. So, but it's
that's
like
something.
they're just adapting the like the Mandalorian season, so it's kind of like I'm not going to bother with that. I mean, I
Yeah,
watched the show.
yeah, exactly, exactly. All right. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time? Sure.
Well, I don't. I don't know. It's like it's not entirely sure, but I think I'm gonna be talking about Zeb Wells' run on Amazing Spider-Man because it's something I've been reading, if not actively, I'm writing about. And well, like there's some stuff to talk about there, and And if nothing else, I'm kind of want to see how it stacks up against like the other Spider-Man runs I've read, like on Marvel Unlimited, before this.
All right, and we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, there's everyone.